like to be prompt here at the Chamber of Commerce, so thanks everybody for joining us. We're very, very pleased to be here, joined by our great friend, Congressman Rodney Davis, who the Illinois Chamber is very proud to go ahead and announce our official endorsement, again, because he continues to be an outstanding representative of the business community, and really not just for his district, but for the entire state of Illinois. He's a leader for employers, for job growth, and a growing economy. So we're very, very proud to go ahead and host him here again this year and announce our endorsement. But I think it's also especially important that we are joined by very, very good partners of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, Mark Grant from NFIB, Kevin Cortar from our partners at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I mispronounced your name. But it makes it especially important that we realize that there is great consensus behind Rodney Davis and his candidacy to be in Congress for another 2 years. We think there's a stark contrast between Rodney and his opponent in terms of the direction of the nation and the direction of central Illinois. So we think that it is very, very important that the voters refocus on the real key issues that impact their communities, impact their businesses, impact their jobs. Rodney is there for them and in a very, very strong fashion. His opponent is a very, very different type of candidate, wants to take the nation in a very different direction, and we think that that is definitely the wrong way to go. So with that, I'll get out of the way, and after welcoming you again to the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, and introduce my colleague, Mark Grant from NFIB.
Todd? As Todd said, I'm the state director for NFIB here in Illinois. NFIB is the nation's leading small business advocacy association, and today we're endorsing Congressman Rodney Davis, Illinois' 13th Congressional District for the U.S. House of Representatives. NFIB knows that good small business policy begins with electing pro-small business candidates. Congressman Davis was a leader in making tax relief a reality for small businesses and has proven himself a staunch supporter on many, many small business issues. Lots of candidates will say that they support small business. We hear it all the time on the campaign trail, but their votes on critical issues is the proof. And Congressman Davis has proven to be a great advocate for Main Street, Illinois, and has earned a 100% voting record from NFIB. He's also supported pro-small business legislation such as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act last year, and just recently, he sponsored and passed out of the House H.R. 6760, which would make permanent the tax benefits for small businesses and middle-class Americans. We are confident that Congressman Davis will continue to stand for small businesses in Congress, and we are very proud to make this endorsement today for his candidacy. Next up, Kevin.
Yep. Thank you, Mark.
And so we don't mispronounce your last name, be sure to do that today.
Yeah. My name is Kevin Courtois. I'm with the U.S. Chamber's Great Lakes Regional Office, and it is an honor to be here standing with our great partners here at the Illinois Chamber and NFIB to talk about the work of our friend and a true advocate of business, Rodney Davis. So some of you may know the U.S. Chamber is the world's largest business organization, and we represent the interests of over 3 million businesses and organizations across the country. It's the goal of our political program to reestablish that governing middle and to support candidates from both sides of the aisle who are committed to economic growth and opportunity, and put that ahead of politics. And Rodney Davis is already part of that governing middle. He's been a reliable leader throughout his entire tenure in Congress. His courage in going to bat for business and industry in the 13th District is evident when you look at his voting record. In Congress, Congressman Davis has a 91% voting record with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Congressman Davis knows what growth and opportunity means for businesses and communities. He's been a leader on regulatory reform, rolling back a lot of the harmful regulations we saw over the past decade that impeded economic growth. Rodney recognizes that his constituents come first and supports policies to help them succeed. As was mentioned, he supported the first comprehensive rewrite of our nation's tax code in 31 years. And what does that mean for Illinois? That means 14,000 additional jobs. And for a middle-class family of 4 in this district, it means nearly $2,500 going back in their pockets instead of to the government. Congressman Davis also knows the importance of maintaining a competitive environment, and he supports policies that create American jobs through improvements to our infrastructure, our education, and our workforce. Now, if we want to continue growing our economy, creating jobs, creating opportunity, it is important to elect leaders like Congressman Davis to Congress. So on behalf of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Illinois Chamber, and NFIB, I am proud to endorse Rodney Davis for re-election to the United States House of Representatives. We look forward to working with you in the next session of Congress. And with that, I'll turn it over to Congressman Rodney Davis. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, and thank you, Todd, and the Illinois Chamber. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Mark, thank you very much on behalf of the NFIB, and it's always good to be joined by my friends Matt Noonan and Dennis Brinkett, two very successful small business owners right here in the city of Springfield. Getting this endorsement today is something that it means a lot to me. As somebody who grew up in a small business family in Taylorville, I understand the importance of what it means to have entrepreneurs willing to invest in our communities to be able to help our communities grow. It's the small businesses like the two folks that run behind me that are the ones who are always on the front lines for charitable events in our communities. They're always on the front lines for making sure that sports teams have sponsors throughout our communities. They're the ones that make our communities tick. And to me, it was something that we needed to do and fix in Congress when we sent the first ever tax reform bill in 31 years from the House to the Senate, and it came back making the individual rates and the rates that many small business owners pay under at the federal tax level. They made those rates expire in 2025. I listened and I saw many Democrats in the Senate, many of my Democratic colleagues get on TV after we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and they said the reason they didn't vote for it, or one of the reasons they didn't vote for the bill, that has, again, put an average of over $2,000 in the pockets of the families that I serve here in central and southwestern Illinois. They said one of the reasons why they didn't vote for it was because the individual rates were not permanent. And when we say individual rates, that just doesn't mean a family of four that are struggling to make sure they meet their family budget and pay for school supplies and maybe be able to take their family on vacation this year with the extra $2,000. Many small businesses pay as pass-through companies. And that means they're paying their rates under the small business law, or under the individual rates. So when I took charge of this issue in Washington to ensure that we moved a piece of legislation forward that would make these rates permanent, like they were before the bill got to the Senate, before it was caught up in an antiquated budget reconciliation process in the Senate, where all we needed were 8 Democratic senators to be able to keep those rates permanent and send it back to us. They didn't do it. Now, many of them who said they wouldn't vote, they didn't vote for the tax bill because these provisions were not permanent, now get a chance to ask the majority leader in a bipartisan way, Mitch McConnell, to put that bill on the floor of the Senate. And I certainly hope their vote is reflective of what they said when we saw this bill pass at the end of last year. Now, what does this Tax Cut and Jobs Act mean to our economy? Look at the growth. When we talked about tax reform not too long ago, we were told by many economists who were criticizing our plan that there's no way our country would get to the 3% growth that we were projecting. Well, we saw what happened last quarter, 4%. We now have unemployment that's at 3.7%. It's the lowest level we've had in this country since before I was born. And I was born in 1970. I'm not necessarily a spring chicken at age 48, but I can tell you 1969 was the last time we had 3.7% unemployment. So what does that mean to the members of the Chamber of Commerce? What does that mean to the members of the NFIB? And what does that mean to Dennis and Matt? That means we've got to do something about ensuring that we have a workforce that's trained and ready to go to help our small businesses succeed in our communities. Because our small communities and all of our communities do not succeed if companies like Dennis's and Matt's don't have the workers to be able to do the jobs. And that is where we are with an unemployment rate at 3.7%. We now have to invest in workforce. And that's what we're trying to do in Washington. We're trying to invest to ensure that the 9 million more people who are on our food stamp program today, when unemployment is at 3.7%, than when unemployment was at 9.5%, we're trying to get them into our community colleges, our apprentice programs, and ensure that they can get trained, get the skills necessary, have that chance to go succeed and get out of poverty and off of government programs. We're trying now as Republicans in Congress, as a Republican majority, to work with this administration to pay for those skills training benefits for those families who are stuck in the cycle of poverty. There is no reason in the economy we have today, with the unemployment level we have today, that we should have 9 million more people on food stamps today than when unemployment was at 9.5%. Democrats and Republicans alike have told me, my entire 5.5 years in Congress, the best way to get families out of poverty is to help get them trained. We're trying to do that in Washington right now, and Democrats are standing in our way. Well, I'm proud to work with the groups behind me to continue to advocate for an additional investment in education and training so that we have families be able to take jobs that we know are available. And I'm going to tell you about one. I got a call last night from someone who said, what's the name of that company in Taylorville that's hiring truck drivers at $70,000 a year? Well, the company's McLean Distribution. And you can call Lou Johnson, who runs McLean, and he can tell you they're hiring truck drivers at $70,000 a year in my hometown of Taylorville. Now, I've known a lot of people who worked their entire career and not made $70,000 a year. And those jobs going unfilled in a town the size of Taylorville is something we've got to fix. And that's what our additional investment in education and training will do. It will allow for an already existing SNAP education and training program to be able to get any individual who's interested and who is on our food stamp program now, get them the training that it would take about 4 weeks at one of our local community colleges to get a commercial driver's license. Be able to go send that person to our community college. And in 4 weeks, they could have that CDL that they need to work and take that truck driving job at McLean. And let's say maybe in about 6 weeks, they could go from having to figure out what they can and cannot buy at the grocery store with their link card, to making $70,000 a year. Those are life-changing moments that we owe to every family who's trapped in the cycle of poverty. And the only way we do that is to actually invest in those families. That's what we're trying to do. That's what Democrats are trying to hold up from us doing. And that's why I'm glad I got the support of the folks behind me, because they're going to help us move good policies forward. They already have, which is why you've seen the historic economic growth and which is why you've seen historic low unemployment. So thank you very much for your endorsement. I'm proud to be the son of a small business owner and proud to have the endorsement from those who are represented by our small business owners. And thank you very, very much, everyone.